I'm all about survival games, but not the kind where you have no clue why you're building a base and just running back and forth, chopping trees all day. I'm more into the ones where your base actually gets attacked every now and then. That's when things get real tough. What's up, gamers? These are the best games where you gotta build a base just to survive. Enjoy the video. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, but hey, in the forest, you get attacked by cannibals, and in RimWorld, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. But those are kind of old games, and today we're diving into something fresh. Meet Once Human, one of the new titles on the block. At first, when you're building up your base, no one's going to bother you. You'll be chilling, crafting, expanding, and catching your breath after your trips. This peaceful vibe lasts until one key moment, when you install a resonance filter at your base. Dust helps convert certain resources, but here's the kicker. That conversion process triggers a raid on your base. You'll be fighting off monsters for a while, and they'll be gunning for the filter, wrecking buildings on their way. Early on, you can just gun down the mobs yourself, but as you level up, you'll unlock active and passive defense options like traps, turrets, and more, so you can turn your base into a real fortress. Now this is Soulmask, and the attack mechanics here are pretty standard. You'll either get hit by wild animals around your base or by other players. But the main thing you need to know is that the NPCs you meet in the world can be recruited and put to work at your base. Later, these same workers can defend your base, which is super handy. As for building, it's pretty standard, except for some sweet automation. You don't have to craft stuff yourself all the time. You can just send your workers and those guys will handle everything while you roam the world, taking down yet another saber-toothed tiger. Pretty cool feature. If you like the previous game but aren't really vibing with the whole Aztec theme, how about Vikings in ASKA? Sure, you could dive into Valheim, your base gets raided there too, but I'm betting you've already played the hell out of it. So here's ASKA, a better pick. You've still got settlers doing their thing in your village, but in ASKA, they're way pickier. They only stick to their specific jobs. If one part of your production chain breaks down, it messes up the whole settlement. Oh, and there's a second threat in the game, winter. Winter's going to be brutal, especially your first one when you're not stocked up on enough food. Get ready to lose some settlers, kind of like in Frostpunk. So this is Norland, a game that looks like RimWorld but set in the medieval era. You've got a group of settlers living their lives, and you need to take care of their wants and needs. But the game has a few tricks up its sleeve. First off, there are two maps. The global map, where you can see a bunch of villages and cities, and your province is just one among many. Then there's the settlement map, where most of the action happens, like raids on your people and other events. And yeah, to survive, you gotta build up your defenses. But no matter where you start or what resources you have, your settlers need food, shelter, jobs, and some spiritual growth too. So you'll have to manage the town, build houses, temples, farms, markets, and even workshops to turn raw materials into useful stuff for your army. The main goal? Grow your power to the point where you can take over 12 provinces either through military force or economic dominance. So yeah, progressing is a must if you want to beat the game. Enshrouded. Probably the only game in today's lineup where you're not going to be fiercely defending your base. Instead, it acts as your true stronghold, giving you a place to chill. But to progress in the story and level up, your base is key. It's not just for crafting, but mainly for the NPCs you meet throughout the game. After encountering you, they'll flood you with quests that push the story forward and help you level up. On top of that, they'll sometimes hook you up with much-needed loot. Obviously, these NPCs need somewhere to crash, and it better be safe. So you'll need to build up your base, because without them, you probably won't get far. Abiotic Factor. Hands down, the hidden gem of this summer for me. For those who don't know, it's a hardcore survival game with all the essentials. Crafting, a bit of base building and all that, but set entirely inside a massive research station. And I mean massive. It's got tons of levels and a ton of monsters. Your base is absolutely essential here for two big reasons. First off, crafting. You'll need a workbench to craft literally everything for your run, from basic weapons and armor to stuff like a door hacker, which you'll need to keep unlocking paths. And trust me, you'll be unlocking them a lot. Second, nighttime. When night hits, the power across the station shuts off, and the monsters, especially the giant robots, start roaming the place, usually right towards you. Early on, this is a huge problem, so you'll want to think hard about your defenses. One cool thing, you can build anywhere on the map, so choose wisely where you want to set up shop. Here's the deal with 7 Days to Die. This game isn't exactly new, but it recently got a full release with updated graphics and more gameplay options. In this game, building a fortified base is a must. Every 7 days, the blood moon rises, and unless you tweak the settings to make it happen more often, the default is every 7 days. When the blood moon hits, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., you're swarmed by zombie hordes from all directions. At first, it's just regular zombies, easy to take down with a basic bow or pistol. But every day, things get more intense. Eventually, you'll face suicide bombers, zombies loaded with explosives running straight at your walls to blow themselves up, taking down your base and your sanity in the process. So yeah, keep an eye out for those guys. They're no joke. Looking for something more strategic? Sure, there's Frostpunk, and the second part is dropping soon. But that one's all about surviving on Earth, even if it's post-apocalyptic. What about surviving on the moon instead? Just recently, the Crust dropped, a game where your lunar colony is humanity's last hope, but only if you can survive out there. The gameplay is like a mix between a city-building sim and Factorio, all set in a realistic lunar colonization environment. To keep your colony alive, you'll need to build equipment to extract and refine resources, create production chains, and research more and more complex tech. At first, little robots can handle the basics, but as tasks get more complicated, you'll need colonists. And for that, you've got to set up housing and all the other essentials. The cool thing is, you don't need to start with conveyor belts right away. Early on, robots can deliver resources themselves, so you can gradually automate everything more and more. Plus, there's a small storyline and some intrigue to keep you motivated as you play. Night of the Dead is basically a full-on alternative to 7 Days, but wrapped in a different package with a way bigger arsenal of zombie-killing gadgets. We're talking full-on turrets, a ton of traps, and all sorts of other crazy gear. The zombies here? Way more variety. You even get massive giants, something you won't find in 7 Days. So, when it comes to enemy diversity, it's got the edge. Another cool thing is you can build your base not just on the ground, but also make something like a mobile base. You can kit it out and cruise around the world, clearing out towns and dungeons. By the way, the game recently had its full release, and the devs added in a proper story and lore. So if you're looking for a solid 7 Days replacement, definitely give this one a shot. I'd like to drop a few words about your typical colony simulator. In this case, it's Sengoku Dynasty, where we find ourselves in feudal Japan trying to manage our little village. At first, the devs kind of dropped the ball on optimization, but now the reviews have picked up, and there's way more content in the game. It was pretty rough at the start, no doubt. The main vibe is that you're managing the workers in your village, building various structures, figuring out what to eat, how to cultivate rice fields, and just trying to breathe, you know? While you're still getting your bearings, bandits might roll up on your village. Remember, we're not living in the most peaceful time in Japan. On the cool side, the devs totally revamped the combat this month, and now it actually feels like you're fighting as a samurai instead of some random noob in any survival game. That's a nice upgrade. Overall, the game is shaping up to be pretty awesome. And to wrap things up, if you're into intense base building and surviving wave after wave of enemies, these games are a must-play. Whether you're a casual gamer or a hardcore survivalist, there's something here for everyone. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the vid. Stay safe out there, gamers.